On Wednesday, June 17, 2015, Her Excellency Razia Ahmed, Acting President of the Republic, issued a proclamation to dissolve the 10th Parliament. This symbolized the end of a 5-year period which saw many firsts, such as the relocation of the Parliament and a marathon sitting in the House of Representatives. Join us as we review the 10th Parliament of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. First session, Friday, June 18, 2010 to Friday, June 17, 2011. In the first session, 31 bills were introduced in the House of Representatives, 11 lapsed due to the prorogation of Parliament, 2 were withdrawn, and 18 were assented to by the President of the Republic. A few of these bills include the Children's Life Fund Bill 2010, the Anti-Terrorism Amendment Bill 2011, and the Miscellaneous Provisions Ministry of Justice Bill 2011. In the Senate, 10 bills were introduced, 4 lapsed due to the prorogation of Parliament, while 6 bills were assented to, 3 of which include the Firearms Amendment Bill 2010, the Miscellaneous Provisions Bail and Kidnapping Bill 2010, and the Financial Intelligence Unit of Trinidad and Tobago Amendment Bill 2011. During the first session, 2 bills stood out in a way in which they could potentially impact the lives of citizens. The first was the Interception of Communications Bill 2010, which sought to provide a legal framework within which public or private communications which are transmitted by means of a public or private telecommunications network can be lawfully intercepted. The second was the Anti-Gang Bill 2010, which sought to provide for the maintenance of public safety and order by discouraging membership of criminal gangs and suppressing criminal gang activity. This bill was passed by special majority. In July, following the reopening of Parliament, new members were chosen to serve on the Executive Committee of the Trinidad and Tobago branch of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association. The Speaker of the House, Wade Mark, and then President of the Senate, Mr. Timothy Hammond-Smith, were appointed ex officio as joint presidents of the association. Additionally, Mr. Terence Dayal Singh was appointed to replace former Senator Ted Ruknarine from November 1, 2010. Second session, Monday, June 27, 2011 to Tuesday, June 26, 2012. During the second session, 21 bills were introduced in the House of Representatives, 7 lapsed, while 14 became Acts of Parliament. They include the Regional Health Authorities Amendment Bill 2011, the Purchase of Certain Rights and Validation Bill 2011, and the Administration of Justice Indictable Proceedings Bill 2011. In the Senate, 6 bills were introduced, 1 was withdrawn and 2 lapsed, but 3 were assented to. The Bacteriological, Biological and Toxin Weapons Bill 2011, the Legal Aid and Advice Amendment Bill 2011, and the Trinidad and Tobago Postal Corporation Amendment Bill 2012. 2 pieces of legislation created much public attention. One was the Legal Aid and Advice Amendment Bill 2011, which sought to amend the Legal Aid and Advice Act, Chapter 707, since the current legislative provisions governing access to legal aid by persons in need had to be updated. The second bill, the Miscellaneous Provisions, Maternity Protection, and the Masters and Servants Ordinance Bill 2012, sought to amend the Paternity Protection Act, Chapter 4557, and repeal the Masters and Servants Ordinance, Chapter 22, Number 5. Also occurring in the second session of Parliament was a proclamation by then-President George Maxwell Richards, who issued a state of emergency. From August 21, 2011, President Richards also issued the accompanying Emergency Powers Regulations, giving effect to the limited state of emergency as announced by Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar. In October 2011, the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago was relocated to Tower D of the International Waterfront Centre. This was done to facilitate the renovation of the 105-year-old Red House. Early in 2012, on January 23rd, former Prime Minister Mr. Patrick Manning suffered a mild stroke. He was granted 90 days leave of absence from the Parliament, which was subsequently extended to July 24, 2012. Then, in March, a motion of no confidence was moved by the Leader of the Opposition. As a result, and for the first time in its 50-year history, The Trinidad and Tobago Parliament sat for a marathon 27.5 hours. The sitting began on March 2nd at 1:30 p.m. and ended at 5 p.m. on March 3rd. All 40 members, 29 from the government and 11 from the opposition, spoke on the motion, with the exception of Mr. Patrick Manning, who was away on treatment. There were many changes on the government bench in the Senate on June 25, 2012. Departing were former Senator Brigadier John C.E. Sandy, then Minister of National Security, former Senator Verna St. Rose Graves, the then Minister of Gender, Youth and Child Development, former Senator Nicole Dyer Griffith, former Senator David Abdullah, and former Senator Danny Maharaj. Consequently, a few senators were appointed on the same day. Mr. Ganga Singh was appointed Minister of the Environment and Water Resources. Ms. Marlene Kudre was appointed Minister of Gender, Youth and Child Development. Mr. Larry Hawaii was appointed Minister of Finance and the Economy, and Mr. Jamal Mohammed was appointed Minister of Communications. Mr. James Lambert was also appointed to the Senate with effect from June 20th, 2012. Third session, Wednesday, July 11th, 2012 to Wednesday, July 10th, 2013. Of the 21 bills introduced in House of Representatives during the third session, 14 bills lapsed while 7 were assented to. Some of them include the Birth and Death Registration Amendment Bill 2012, the Marriage Amendment Bill 2012, and the Dog Control Bill 2013. In the Senate, 5 bills were introduced, 3 lapsed while 2 were assented to. They include the University of Southern Caribbean Incorporation Bill 2012 and the Motor Vehicles and Road Traffic Amendment Bill 2013. One piece of legislation that created heavy discussion in the chamber and among the public was the Dog Control Act 2013, which sought to provide for the control and regulation of certain breeds of dogs classified as dangerous and the manner in which they are kept by their owners. This act repealed the previous Dangerous Dogs Act 2000. Another bill that generated much discussion in the chamber and among the citizens was the Miscellaneous Provisions Defense and Police Complaints Bill 2013. This bill sought to give members of the Defense Force the same powers, authorities, privileges, and immunities that are normally given to members of the police service. Although passed in the House and the Senate, the bill lapsed during this session. On August 31, 2012, Trinidad and Tobago celebrated its 50th year of independence from Britain in 1962. On Friday, February 5, 2013, the Electoral College sat in the Parliament chamber for the purpose of electing the President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. His Excellency Anthony Thomas Aquinas Carmona, Senior Counsel, was voted to become the 5th President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. March proved to be a significant month for the Parliament as one of its major outreach initiatives, the School Outreach Series, was launched. One of the objectives of the series was to build awareness of the role and importance of the Parliament in sustaining democracy and promoting good governance. During the period March to May, 7 outreach visits were organized in 7 of the 8 school districts throughout Trinidad and Tobago. Another notable event that occurred during March was the discovery of skeletal remains in the basement of the Red House. During the removal exercise, 6 complete skeletons, 36 incomplete skeletons, 3 sets of long bones, and 1 skull in a pot were discovered. In November, the chairman of the Joint Select Committees presented findings of their inquiries into various government ministries and agencies at a media briefing held at the Office of the Parliament. This marked the first time in which reports were presented in this way. There were several changes in the membership of both houses of Parliament in 2013. In the case of the House of Representatives, there were 2 by-elections. On July 29th, Mr. Jack Warner was re-elected as a representative for Chaguanas West. Mr. Warner had resigned as the Minister of National Security on April 21st that year and as a Member of Parliament for Chaguanas West on April 26th. On November 4th, former opposition Senator Mr. Terence Dial Singh became the new representative for St. Joseph. He replaced former MP Herbert Volney, whose seat became vacant with effect from September 9, 2013. There were also several changes to the portfolios of ministers in both houses of Parliament that took effect from March 31, 2014. Mr. Gerald Hadid, then Minister of Communications, became the new Minister of Tourism. He replaced Mr. Chandra Sharma. Mr. Vasant Bharat was appointed the new Minister of Communications. He retained his portfolio of Minister of Trade, Industry and Investment. And the Honorable Kamal Prasad Bisesa, the Prime Minister, replaced Dr. Glenn Rabadar Singh as Minister of the People and Social Development. On April 22, 2013, Dr. Suraj Ratan Rambachan, former Minister of Local Government, became the new Minister of Works and Infrastructure, and Mr. Emmanuel George, former Minister of Works and Infrastructure, was appointed the new Minister of National Security. One member's portfolio was terminated. Mr. Colin Partap, who was then the Minister of State in the Ministry of National Security, had his appointment revoked with effect from August 27, 2012. Fifth session, Monday, August 4, 2014 to Wednesday, June 17, 2015. Of the 20 bills introduced in the House of Representatives, 10 lapsed while 10 were assented to. Some of these bills include the Adoption of Children Amendment Bill 2014, the Public Procurement and Disposal of Public Property No. 2 Bill 2014, and the Trinidad and Tobago Panama Partial Scope Trade Agreement Bill 2014. In the Senate, 8 bills were introduced. Although 7 bills lapsed, 1 was assented to. The Miscellaneous Provisions, Proceeds of Crime, Anti-Terrorism, Financial Intelligence Unit of Trinidad and Tobago No. 2 Bill 2014. 2 bills generated heavy discussion among the public. The first was the Constitution Amendment Bill 2014. Among other things, this bill sought to limit the period for which a person could serve as Prime Minister and provide for the recall of members of the House of Representatives. The other bill, which became an act following the President's assent on February 14th, was the Bail Amendment Act 2013. This legislation sought to deny bail to persons who are charged with certain criminal offenses within 10 years after the completion of a sentence. In March 2014, the first report of the Standing Orders Committee of the House of Representatives for the 4th session of the 10th Parliament was adopted in March 2014. This report comprehensively revised the standing orders of the House of Representatives and took effect in August 2014. Parliament's School Outreach Series continued in the 4th session. Over 15 schools were visited during the period August 2013 to June 2014. The Speaker of the House and President of the Senate each took turns visiting secondary schools across the country where they discussed topics such as the role of a Member of Parliament and the process of lawmaking. Coming out of the Schools Outreach Program, Parliament hosted 3 students as part of an apprenticeship program. From August 12th to 17th, the students were given a series of challenges to complete while being exposed to different functions of our legislature. In the Senate, a number of senators were given new portfolios which took effect from September 6, 2013. Mrs. Razia Ahmed was appointed as the new Minister of State in the Ministry of Gender, Youth and Child Development. Mr. Gary Griffith was appointed Minister of National Security. He replaced Mr. Emmanuel George. On August 2, 2013, Mr. H.R. Ian Roach, Mr. David Small, Mr. Anthony Vieira and Dr. Danisha Mahabir were appointed new independent senators during the ceremonial opening of Parliament. On December 10, 2013, the following senators were appointed: Mr. Avinash Singh, Mrs. Camille Robinson Regis, and Mrs. Diane Baldeo Chedi Singh. The seat of former independent Senator Subhash Ramkilawan was declared vacant on April 10, 2014. Reverend Joy Abdul Mohan replaced him on the independent bench. On July 31, 2014, Dr. Rupert Griffith became the new Minister of Sport following the resignation of Mr. Arnold Roberts. 5th session, Monday, August 4, 2014 to Wednesday, June 17, 2015. Of the 20 bills introduced in the House of Representatives, 10 lapsed while 10 were assented to. Some of these bills include the Adoption of Children Amendment Bill 2014, the Public Procurement and Disposal of Public Property No. 2 Bill 2014, and the Trinidad and Tobago Panama Partial Scope Trade Agreement Bill 2014. In the Senate, 8 bills were introduced. Although 7 bills lapsed, 1 was assented to. The Miscellaneous Provisions, Proceeds of Crime, Anti-Terrorism, Financial Intelligence Unit of Trinidad and Tobago No. 2 Bill 2014. During the 5th session, 2 pieces of legislation proved to be important to the public and created much attention. The first was the Public Procurement and Disposal of Public Property No. 2 Bill 2014. This bill sought to provide for public procurement and the disposal of public property in accordance with the principles of good governance, namely accountability, integrity, transparency, and value for money, and the establishment of the Office of Procurement Regulation. The other bill was the Adoption of Children Amendment Bill 2014. The bill sought to amend the Adoption of Children Act No. 67 of 2000 and to replace the Adoption Board with the Children's Authority. During the period October 2014 to May 2015, the Parliament continued its school outreach series. 18 schools across the country were visited by one of the presiding officers of Parliament. Some of the topics included the new standing orders and the role of the presiding officers. Following the success of the first season, which took place in August 2013, 4 students participated in Parliament's apprenticeship program. From August 5 to 15, 2014, the students were given a series of challenges to complete while being exposed to different functions of our legislature. One of the most important features of the 5th session of Parliament was the adoption of the new standing orders of the House of Representatives. From August 4, 2014, the House began conducting its business with new revisions. One of the amendments made was a reduction in the speaking time of members. Several new committees were established during the 5th session of Parliament. A few of them include the Committee on Energy Affairs, which held 5 meetings, the Committee on National Security, which held 3 meetings, and the Committee on Public Appropriation and Administration, which held 2 meetings. Following the reading of the budget speech and debate on the Appropriation Financial Year 2015 Bill 2014, the House resolved itself into Standing Finance Committee to scrutinize the appropriated funds given to the various ministries. On September 18, 2014, under the new standing orders, the deliberations of the committee were broadcast live to the public. This was the first time that those committee meetings were aired live. In March 2015, the Parliament, in collaboration with the United Nations Development Programme, hosted a roundtable discussion on post-legislative scrutiny. If executed, this pilot project should assist the Parliament in its review of the effectiveness of any piece of legislation. There were a number of changes to the portfolios of ministers on February 2, 2015. Mr. Prakash Ramada was appointed the new Minister of Justice. He retained his portfolio as Minister of Legal Affairs. Dr. Rupert Griffith, then Minister of Sport, was appointed the new Minister of Science and Technology. Ms. Stacey Rupnarayan, then Minister of State in the Ministry of Works and Infrastructure, was appointed the Minister of State in the Ministry of Gender, Youth and Child Development. There were new appointments to the Senate with effect from Tuesday, February 3, 2015. Mr. Garvin Nicholas was appointed Attorney General. Brigadier General Carlton Alfonso was appointed Minister of National Security. Mr. Brent Sancho was appointed Minister of Sport. Mrs. Christine Nualo Hossain was appointed the Minister of the People and Social Development. And Mr. Kwesi Mutema was appointed Minister of State in the Ministry of National Security. Mrs. Razia Ahmed was also elected the new President of the Senate. She replaced former President of the Senate Timothy Hamill-Smith, whose seat was declared vacant from February 2, 2015. Ceremonial openings were held at the start of some sessions of Parliament. This event serves as a reopening ceremony following the prorogation of a previous session. In addition to sittings of both houses, the President of the Republic addressed all members assembled together in the Parliament chamber. Parliament continued its outreach activities with the National Youth Parliament debate. Each year, students assemble in the Parliament chamber to debate a particular motion. The proceedings mirror that of an actual sitting, in that the students represent both sides of the House, government and opposition. The 5 parliamentary committees established to examine the work of the executive remained busy throughout the 10th Parliament. The total number of meetings held are as follows: Public Accounts Committee 21, Public Accounts Enterprises Committee 30, Joint Select Committee Group 1 34, Joint Select Committee Group 2 38, Joint Select Committee Municipal Corporations and Service Commissions 38. In addition to their work in the Houses, parliamentarians are invited to attend conferences hosted by several parliamentary organizations. Some of these include the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association and the Inter-Parliamentary Union. Some of the topics discussed at those seminars included ethics and accountability, the principles of good governance, Parliament and the media, the role of the parliamentarian, presiding officer and staff of the Parliament, understanding budgets and good practice in budget information, youth participation in the democratic process, new technologies in the transformation of the legislative branch, parliamentary communications and public relations, the role of opposition parties and cross-party relations, and the importance of Parliament's oversight functions. Similar to visits done by our members to legislatures worldwide, the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago welcomed parliamentary staff and dignitaries from legislatures and countries around the world. A few notable guests who visited during the 10th Parliament include His Excellency Xi Jinping, President of the People's Republic of China, His Excellency Seok-Hun Lee, and members of the National Assembly of the Republic of Korea, the Honourable Bronwyn Bishop, Speaker of the House of Representatives of the Australian Parliament, and Senator the Honourable Leo Housakos, Speaker of the Senate of the Parliament of Canada. There were a number of landmark motions moved during the 5th Parliament. In May 2013, the Honourable Dr. Keith Rowley, Leader of the Opposition, moved a motion of loss of confidence in the Prime Minister and Government of Trinidad and Tobago. The motion was rejected. Then, in June of 2014, Mr. Corbin Bear moved a motion to censure the Minister of Sport and the Live Sport Programme. That motion was also rejected. However, in March of 2015, Dr. Rudal Munilal, Leader of the House, moved a motion of lack of confidence in the Leader of the Opposition. This motion was approved, and the Leader of the Opposition was suspended from the service of the House. The Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago is one of the most active legislatures in the region. Our parliamentary staff are well trained and versed in parliamentary procedure, which allows members to easily complete their responsibilities in an effective manner. As we look forward to the 11th Parliament, we remember the challenges, but more so the successes that helped shape the past 5 years.